Hi, everybody, and welcome to another 9x90 episode. We are hosting this on the 9x90 platform, but today we are going to take things in a little bit of a different direction. You're going to hear from two of my friends from business school, and they are not only ridiculously successful, they are also athletic and insanely intelligent. We all met at business school, which means that these gents graduated also from one of the top business schools in the world. And today, to this day, people still ask me if Mihir is a GQ model, which let me handle the rumors right now. He is not.
Unbeknownst to me, I thought it was still.
Yeah. All right. And let's see. I met Mihir at he was very good at finance and I was not. So the deal was that I would buy him whatever food he wanted if he would just sit next to me and study and then answer my finance questions when I had them. That's how, like, he's so brilliant with this that I ended up getting an A in the class. And this is on a bell curve where your grades are determined in correlation to what everyone else in the class got. So absolute financial genius. Then we have Ryan here. Ryan, the way that we met, I was studying in the launch pad and he walked up and asked if he could study with me. And it was really strange because professional athletes have a lower resting heart rate. Everyone knows that. And when he came up, I thought it was, I immediately noticed like he has a very calm demeanor as if he has a low resting heart rate. And a few minutes later, I found out, hello, retired professional basketball player. Which country did you play
It was
for?
in Peru. So
no big deal. Giant country. Sorry, we have the humble guys here, and I'm putting them on the spot. All right, so let's dive into the topics for today. Marketing geniuses. Could you tell us a little bit about what led up to you being selected to collaborate on this upcoming book? Because it is not enough that we are just friends. We also have all achieved a certain threshold to be able to be here and reconnect on something other than good food and basketball.
Mihir, do you want to have the honor starting?
Yes.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, absolutely. So, when Adi reached out to me, she said that she's looking for someone and a few professionals who have successfully scaled companies or have done something that has grown from zero to growing to a certain level of scale. Yeah. In my previous job myself, I was at Avishar Capital. So Avishar Capital is one of the largest impact funds in India. They're also the pioneer in the world of impact investing, where they claim to have coined the word impact investing as well. So during my role there, it was in the middle of COVID. I was tasked with raising their $200 million sixth India-focused fund. Not an easy thing to do during the time of COVID because a lot of investors were very risk-heavy at that time, not willing to invest in high-risk markets such as India. And during that time, I managed to help them raise $133 million as a part of the first close. I had the chance to work with some of the biggest investors globally. You can think of someone like, say, Temasek, British National Investments, etc. It was this success that allowed me to be a contributor to this book. And I was glad I was able to share my story with Adi as well as with the future readers. And yeah, that's how I got here.
Yeah, so the threshold that Mihir is talking about is we were looking for people who have worked with companies that have gone, they're hyper growth startups. So they've passed at least 100 million in gross revenue, gross sales. And so I asked Mihir if he had hit that threshold yet. No pressure. And he told me he did. And I was like, thank God, because this will be so much more fun if you were able to join me on this adventure. So that's how we got Mihir into the book. And then after that, I kind of put out a message to everyone in our business school alumni group. And Ryan was like, hey, do you still need help with that? And I was like, you will be my favorite. like pseudo younger brother for life if you have something good on like a good story that can excite people on setting goals, objectives, KPIs, because I'm trying to figure out how to excite young marketers about this topic. Like, yes, it's crucial. Yes, setting these like gets your teams excited to work towards a goal that looks great on everyone's resume later on. But do you have any success stories on this? And Ryan was like, I got you. So,
yeah, there's nothing sexier
Ryan,
than some good goal setting. No, it's really, really, it gets me alive and awake in the morning more than anything else. All right, so yeah, I mentioned that we obviously met in the MBA, like Mihir. At that time, I was kind of on a bit of like a mission. I knew many people go to the MBA to soul search and then figure their stuff out later, or to the master's in finance or whatever master's. Others kind of go in with a very specific agenda in terms of outcomes, and I was one of the, I think, perhaps lucky few with that in mind. And I was really looking to get into management and strategy consulting in Latin America, working in Spanish and running projects in a very international context. So that's what I did. I from Spain, from grad school, I then went to Colombia, where I was for about 2 years working for a regional consultancy, and then jumped over to Mexico, where I was for another almost 5 years working in Deloitte's strategy consulting practice and running projects across Latin America, North America, Europe, working with some really, really interesting clients across kind of energy, mobility, telecom, retail, everything from kind of profitability stuff to market entry and go-to-market and expansion. And that was everything I was looking for. Super intense, kind of fun, learned lots, and got to do some really impactful work growing some big companies in different areas. And through that, then came back to stateside. A couple of years, joined a late stage, high growth tech startup in New York called Via, which is a transit tech SaaS company, and was there kind of launching and leading launches and growing and scaling up the business across North America for the last couple of years.
Yeah. So you have some industry legends here with you today. All right. So if you could give advice to young marketers who want to be where you are now, like 5-10 years into the future, what would it be aside from going to IE business school?
How do we want to play the who goes first game, Adi?
Brian, you can go first with this because it's more of the marketing side and Mihir's more of the finance side, but I make him talk about marketing.
Great. Yeah, love it. He's a great marketer. Yeah, I think
He loves it.
I think the two biggest things is, and this is certainly probably most relevant in marketing, but I think it's applicable to a lot of other industries. It's having a really core focus on learning and curiosity, and just wanting to really dig deep into a couple different industries. I think the deeper you go, the more expertise you develop. The more expertise you develop, the more ability you have to create true impact and generate value. And the only way to do that is by being really interested in learning and being curious. And that's, I think, one of the things that's been one of the great gifts of my experience so far. And I think the second thing is believing and trusting in yourself. There's gonna be a lot of moments of doubt along the way, and a lot of really challenging aspects that come with any job, any industry, any role. But having, I think, like a core or trying at least to develop over time, like a core solid belief that you can figure out fill in the blank problem will help you expand your mindset and think of tackling problems in new and different ways, or new and different structures than you might have considered otherwise.
Yeah, like there's the recommendation that instead of saying, can I reach this goal, you say to yourself, how will I reach this goal? And when you just like shift that mindset, you see great things happen. Like there've been multiple times where they tell me the goal and I'm absolutely terrified. Like, I have no idea if I could hit that. And then like one of my friends, like his voice saying that in the background, like the first time this happened, I was at IE business school. He was there and he overheard the conversation and was like, I'm never going to hit that goal. Like, I've never hit that goal before. I've never even hit like a fifth of that. And he was like, you were at one of the top business schools in the world, surrounded by the most intelligent industry leaders. Like, they are your professors. If you can't go to them with this type of question, why did you come to IE? It's like, and to this day, I don't know about you guys, but I still reach out from time to time to certain professors, like, oh my God, I know I'm not your student anymore, but if you were to face this, what would you
Help.
do? Yeah, please guide me, please mentor me, just answer 2 questions for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think also just who you have in call and mentors has a huge impact as well. But what do you think, Mihir?
And I think it's very important to start early.
Yeah.
Start early, go broad, experiment, keep failing, and keep learning. I think it's pretty much common theme across whether you want to do marketing or finance. Starting early always helps. It's okay to be confused as well, and always have someone or somebody to look up to. Sadly, with the fast-changing world today, we are having way too many people to look up to these days, from Sam Altman to Satya Nadella, to all of these people, because everybody is just trying to take each other down in the race to AI. So if you would like to do something in AI, for example, your role models can change all the time. So you need not always have one role model. You can have multiple of them. That's one thing that you need to keep in mind, irrespective of anything you want to do in life. It's marketing or finance.
Clearing the chessboard and claiming there's just a king. To everyone that works in a different sector, we love you as well, and we value you and your insight. All right, so what do we have? What's our next question? We have a list of questions we're going through, as always. All right, how do you consume information like that's specific to your niche? Do you read books and study history and like what's been successfully done in the past, or do you prefer to actively tune into the news and see what the success stories are that are coming to fruition right now in real time, or do you kind of do a mix of both?
Okay, I'll go on this one first. I think I do a mix of all. I would read history books as well, what's been working in the past, what mistakes were made. History always repeats itself. The frameworks can change, but the learnings always remain pretty much constant. So that is very important. That's one. So history is extremely important to learn. So what's happening in the world of finance today has happened in the 18th century already.
Yeah.
It's nothing new that we are seeing today.
Yeah.
COVID has happened, something similar to COVID has happened already during World War II, very similar economic situations as well. So learning is always there. So history is important. Of course, current news is also very important, but my advice is not to follow just one particular news channel or media outlet. Always look for multiple news, look for both side of viewpoints. Some media outlet, they'll probably put out the same news in a certain positive way. Somebody's going to give you a negative spin as well. So always be on the lookout of that. Think as critically as possible. And of course, podcasts are very casual conversations these days. People are a bit more real on podcasts compared to news. So always follow good podcasts as well. So that is something also that really helps. So for me, at least, has been a mix of everything. And I also maintain a journal or a book where if I learn something new from a news article or something, or maybe from a podcast, I just make a quick note of it. So if I want to go back and refer to it, I can always do that as well. So that's how I am approaching my learning from day to day.
For me, Mihir is actually one of my news syndicates. So I have a financial advisor who tells me which news headlines I should be looking at that day based on like tech startups and the marketing like niche through that lens. And then I also have Mihir sending me things saying, you need to read this, you need to see this.
Man.
But yeah, and then I read
I want
one
to
to 2 books a
Mihir.
week.
How do I get one of those?
You have one right
This
here.
is true. Yeah, I fully echo basically everything that you said. And that I guess there's a different tempo to it. I am a news junkie, caught and found, and I
would not peg you for a news junkie.
I really am. I can't get enough. It's actually something that I have now had to like put boundaries around so that I don't impact my productivity, because I'm checking first thing in the morning and then I want to do like my midday check, my evening check. I don't know why. I really like knowing what's going on and being plugged into what's happening in the market, but even beyond that, just what's happening geopolitically, I'll find a random article on how a new species of snail was discovered in the Amazon, and I'll go deep on that. Just kind of nerd out in the weirdest ways. But then I also always have time reserved every day for reading, and I also love reading history and really being informed by what's happened in the past. Totally agree with me here that things tend to repeat themselves. So I just not noted down in my journal here that there's a podcast that was recommended to me recently, a certain episode that I need to listen to, and you just shot up my memory. So thanks for that. I'll be doing that later
Is it
today.
marketing related?
It's in the climate space actually. So it's
Okay. I'll enjoy it.
Yeah.
Mihir, you can still share it. Climate space is way over my head, but Mihir probably wants to know exactly what you found.
We'll chat later. We have some similar interests there.
Yeah.
All right. So sorry. Okay. So let's see. Do you attend trade shows, conferences, summits, and other industry niche events?
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. What's your favorite?
I really love innovation and startup-based conferences because you really cover the full gamut of functions and of kind of what's at the bleeding edge of whichever industry you happen to find most interesting. One of the more impactful ones, one that I'm a huge fan of, big proponent, is it's called Denver Startup Week. It's in Denver, Colorado, which is where I reside. It's the certainly nation's, maybe world's largest free startup-related conference. Thousands and thousands of people fly in from all over the place. There's a massive amount of sessions that you can basically use to customize your own experience and pick from every day, and an absolute unbelievable amount of networking and kind of fun social events as well that goes into it. And having the opportunity to kind of be in a platform in a place like that and engage with folks and learn about what's going on both regionally and internationally is, I think there's like nothing better for me.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I agree with you on that. So of course, before I got to the business school at Northwestern, I used to attend trade shows and seminars and conferences. The idea was to source as many deals as possible and to meet entrepreneurs and new founders at these conferences, and also allowed me to stay on top of what's going on. This was back in India, in Mumbai, when I was working at Avishkar Capital. So, and also,
you're
of course,
super posh and worshipped.
No, not at all.
People roll out the red carpet when Mihir comes to India, and then you just see doves flying in the background.
That checks out.
And apart from that, of course, because I'm very passionate about impact investing in ESG, I also try to look for conferences which allow me to join for free right now, because I'm still looking to make a transition over there. So any of those conferences are also a great resource. You get to meet a lot of investors. You also understand in terms of where the pools of capital are moving, where are they coming from as well. So from that point of view, seminars and conferences are a great place to build your networks and also build your industry understanding that you're really passionate about.
Yeah, absolutely. And a little bit of an unconventional one is to go to hacker houses in Silicon Valley.
Okay.
I have a few friends who run them. You go for like a Saturday afternoon when they're playing their video games or whatever, and just ask them what they're working on. Because there's usually like 3 or 4 of them that are roommates that when they're not working for Google, they're doing something in the evenings. And that's going to be,
Yeah.
Cool.
That's my secret. That's one of my secret places to go.
So,
when I vanish to the planet. Ryan never knows where I am on the planet. That's one of the places I vanish to.
At any given time.
So one more point I forgot to mention was also that, many times we have companies, portfolio companies as well, which are facing competitive pressures from the new startups that are coming in. So attending these trade shows also tells me in terms of, okay, who can likely be my competitor, and what are they doing, and how I can make a make a quick switch in my business strategy in a portfolio company, or advise my
Yeah.
my entrepreneur or my founder in terms of, hey, this is going on in the market. How are we looking to address this before they raise a fund, before they do a fundraise and they catch up with us? Let's see how we can defend our market position. So again, trade shows, great way to collect intel and great way to remain competitive, or help your company, the portfolio company, remain competitive if you are an investor.
Yeah, I'll drop that in really quick. So Mihir's on the board of one of the companies that I am actively involved with, and we have survived 4 attempted hostile takeovers now. And each time I'm like, what do you think of this? And he's like, I'll look into it. He comes back with an absolutely brilliant strategy. Like, this company should have been killed by industry giant dinosaurs that like really just want to devour it. And each time he's found like some brilliant asymmetrical warfare way for us to like slip through underground tunnels and use like these tiny loopholes to survive. Yeah, and that company, the software is now used in 59 countries. So his strategies here that he's like speaking about at a high level, they're amazing. They're absolutely amazing. Okay, so now, oh, I have to answer. Okay, do you attend trade shows, conferences, summits, and other industry niche events? Yes. One of my mentors a few years ago made me promise that I would start accepting at least 1 speaking engagement per month. For those of you who know me, you know I'm an introvert, so I'd rather chew glass than be surrounded by 3,000 people. But I accepted that challenge. It did change a lot of things for me. I got over my fear of talking in front of large crowds, and now it's actually become something that's fun. And I try to do, I've actually ramped it up from 1 a month to trying to do between like 2 to 3 a month. It's a lot of fun. My favorite conferences to attend, they tend to be either about something with philanthropy or the startup space. I love the startup space simply because I'm addicted to high numbers. I don't know if Ryan has this also as a professional athlete. Like, you get this rush and like your brain goes into like this focus mode that's just awesome.
Yep.
And when you're able to see something grow by like 1,000 or 10,000x, it's so cool. Your brain goes into this like competitive athlete headspace that, I don't know, you just don't get when you're watching something grow by 1% because you changed a button color. So that's my answer for that, which segues us into our next question, which I already kind of answered for myself. So I think only you gents have left to answer it. It's, have you spoken at conferences, trade shows, industry events before, and would you be open to doing it again in the future? Mihir, you have to. I'm sorry, I drag you to these, so you have no choice. Ryan, you are physically far enough away.
I have escaped the Adi
I cannot
orbit
show up at your house.
now.
Put you into an SUV yet and say, but soon enough, I will get your wife's phone number and kidnap you.
Great. That's a very dangerous proposition. I'm going to do everything in my power to not let that happen. Yeah, I mean, yes and yes. Yeah, I've spoken at some before. I suspect I'll be doing so again down the road. So yeah, I am not. I'm actually probably more of an extrovert at my core. Maybe surprising to you, Hetty. So
no, you know what? That totally makes sense because, okay, this is something I didn't tell you about Ryan. At business school, I would hide behind him. People would say they wanted to meet with me for lunch about some strategic planning thing. And I was like, you know what? Ryan is much better at small talk than me. This will also be like a strategic advantage for him to meet this person because I'm graduating soon. So I would just bring him. I don't know if you ever knew why I brought you to all those lunch meetings. And now you know.
So I've just been
like,
a pawn used this whole time. It all makes sense now.
Token extrovert, and I'm sure you benefited from those lunches because no one else was invited to speak with half those people.
Yeah, no, it was fantastic. Yeah, I love connecting with people. It actually, I think people tend to either take energy or give you energy in interactions, and there's obviously a balance of that with everyone. For me, about 99% of the time, I'm receiving energy, and I think I hope also giving energy, but I am certainly feel energized.
Gives me energy.
Oh, all right.
You're one of the people that when I talk to you, I feel energized afterwards. You and me here. That's why we're all here.
So I'm not just a vampire. That's good to know. Yeah, I mean, I love being around people, engaged, learning from people of all different backgrounds, industries, whatever. So yeah, that'll definitely keep happening.
Yeah, no, absolutely not
Great.
a vampire. You are one of my few like energy source stones on the planet.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Not just
For me,
ladies and gents.
I think no, I have never spoken at any of the events or conferences. Would I be open to? Yeah, of course. I think that's something on my mind. To be a thought leader and go around talking at conferences and create some kind of a brand around my name and my and the profession, the kind of work I do. I'm just waiting for the right opportunity and right time, and yeah, I would be very happy to do that when the right opportunity does arrive.
I got you. I got your back. We'll do this.
Okay.
Yes, if you haven't gathered yet, I grew up with a younger brother. We did everything together, and now that he no longer lives with me, I fill that void with Mihir, Ryan, and all of my other friends because the younger brothers, they're always like they always have the most fun. They always find a way to have like the most good, clean fun. They always find something to laugh about. Like
Yeah.
if I could be in the darkest mood and I call one of my best friends in Israel, he has me laughing in like 4 seconds. I have this theory that like, yes, younger brothers are like the source of this planet's joy. So yes, Mihir is the one that I now bring with Ryan. Ryan is
Yeah.
like putting so many
All
puzzle
coming
pieces
together.
into place, and Mihir's just like Mihir's become active in some of the I'm trying to make him active in some of the philanthropic work that I'm doing here locally.
Yeah.
They all love him, and they also call him the GQ model.
Still checks out.
No, I think the funniest one is that my daughter has like a massive crush. So anytime Mahir comes over, she runs upstairs and puts on like a giant ball gown and comes downstairs and tries to pretend that she just hangs out like that all day.
That's amazing.
It is so adorable. Like, yeah, little kid
Wow,
crushes.
Mihir
She
has
thinks
become
he's
a
like
Yeah.
heartthrob. I don't know. I don't remember how old your daughter is. That you heard me say teenage heartthrob. I was like, well, maybe not quite there yet, but still, you're something. Fill in the blank heartthrob. That's a win.
Yeah, man. Anything works right now.
I think we can get.
Yeah.
All right. So, jokes aside, what is the bar by which you measure yourself? Oh, I have a specific one. Do you guys like? Do you have a mentor, ancestor, or some influencer that you like? Look at what they achieved, and that's your next professional goal.
Well, why don't you start, Eddie?
Yeah, I can start. Okay, so my great grandmother was an immigrant to the U.S. and this was like decades ago, way before women were in business. She started not just one but 3 businesses. She raised 10 kids, and when one of her friends died, she adopted her 3 as well. So then she took care of 13 kids, and she spoke 7 languages. The woman was like a freaking demigod. I do not plan on having any more children, so I figured I'd flip it. We have 7 companies and brands. We're looking to get to like maybe get to 13 on that side. I'm sticking with 2 kids and a gigantic dog who thinks she's my 3rd child. And I do have the goal to get to 7 languages, although I'm not quite there yet. If you ever try to borrow my notes, you can't because they're in Ladino. And then yeah, my Spanish is a little bit rusty, but before COVID, it was Spanish, Italian, Hebrew, English. But now with COVID, everything went to hell. Ladino's not considered a real language, so I can't count that as part of my subject. But go ahead.
Fair. I mean, yeah, I think for me, there's a couple of different measures that I look at. I mean, there's obviously professional and career related success, which I've had the pleasure of being around a couple different folks who I look up to a lot in that arena. One of my dad, who's had a really great career in the banking world, and so on the one hand, I think there's always kind of the professional terms, the financials, the what kind of level of comfort do I want to have in my life through the hard work that I put in, and and what kind of flexibility and liberty do I want to have in the way that I spend my time as a result of that, which I think is very attractive. It's a part of the ethos of the American dream.
Yeah.
And then on the other hand, there's more about just general satisfaction, happiness, well-being, balance. And for that, I kind of just, I use projections and visualizations that I have for myself of in the future, and really how close I feel I am to being in that state. And I kind of just have these, certain milestones of the way that I visualize what my life looks like, the things that I'm doing, where I am, who am I with, and how much is my current life kind of tracking in that direction. And so yeah, it's really helpful exercise because it kind of keeps me grounded in one way by really thinking about what's most important to me. And obviously money is super helpful and important, but it is a means to an end. And then the other part is what really kind of gets me going and really fires me up and has me inspired for the future.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah, no, go ahead. Same.
Yeah, go ahead. I know. I would say that I use the visualizations as well. Trying to match my father's career. Oh God, I don't know. Like I'm like a decade behind all of his achievements. I'm like still just a mere shadow in what he did by the time he was my age. But yeah, I'm here.
Yeah. I agree with the whole idea of visualization. That is something that keeps me going as well. So of course that makes sense. I do also try to map it out by what age where I want to be. Does it work out all the time? No, it does not. There are, of course, timelines do get stretched because there are things that are beyond our control that keep happening and you cannot control. And those external factors is something which you cannot control. But one thing I do not do for sure is compare my journey with anybody for that sake. I honestly do not care who's getting where. Was I doing it at some point in time? Yes, I was, but that terribly backfired in terms of my confidence levels, and then also making you feel, a bit more on the inferior side. So that started affecting my output and my ability to get things done. So I stopped doing that. I tried to see where I was yesterday versus where I am today, and how much progress I've made in terms of where I want to be. Making money is very important to me, but at the same time, I also want to make sure that I'm making the right kind of impact and I'm not negatively impacting anybody's life, and trying to leave behind legacy. So that is what excites me about, for example, the clean tech space or the impact investing space. Because like for example in India, I turned around a company, for example, right? So now when I did that, I increased the farmers' incomes. They got access to credit as well. And they were also able to improve the yield of the crops and stuff like that. So for the longest period of time, I have already changed the life. So that kind of work excites me. Would that mean that I'm going to become a billionaire with this kind of work? I don't know, but am I going to do well enough for myself? Yes, of course. So I think that's the way I look at it. It's always you versus you, I think. And visualization is very, very important. If you can't see it, then it gets very hard to believe in what it's going to feel like once you get things done. So that is where I come from as far as that is concerned.
Just to clarify for those who don't know Mihir, he's Hindu, which means if a mosquito bites me and he's around, I can't kill it. I could just shoo it away. So when he says he doesn't want to hurt anyone, his level of like adding value and not hurting anyone is like, I don't know, 1 billion times higher. His standards for that are 1 billion times higher than the rest of the planets. Yeah, I mean, that's why I'm like okay with my daughter having her young crush, because I mean the values that he communicates when she's around it are like great values for both of my kids to see. Yes, great role model. Ladies, he's single.
No.
Very
Check him out.
What? Check him out and know that this is like a family package. So if you end up being the one who gets Mihir, you will also be adopted by me. So
wow. Really setting him up for success.
Not sure if they want you, Adi.
Great. There goes that pitch. Thanks, Adi.
Yeah.
I am a great older sibling to have. People get the red carpet when they're with me. I make sure they're given the white glove treatment. Yes, I'm a very protective older sister, but I also think I'm a great older sister. Anyways, pseudo or otherwise. Yeah, I would definitely agree with, you said something about trying to make your ancestors proud as well, did you? I don't remember.
No, I did not.
No, you didn't. Okay, sorry, that was
No,
Ryan.
I did not. That was
Ryan's trying to live up to what his father.
Ryan. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
Not exactly.
Sorry about that. Total faux pas on my end. Ryan to live up to his father's. I'm trying to live up to the shadow set by my ancestors, and Mihir's trying to be the most harmless, positive impact on the planet. All right, so here we go. What do we have next? We kind of already covered this one. What do you remember about meeting each other? I just remember buying lots of Indian food so that Mihir would help me with finance. And then he sent me like, what, 100 different finance books. And I was like, as someone who's addicted to reading, I love this and I know we'll be friends for life. But I'm also like highly flattered that you think I could comprehend like even a fraction of any of these books.
Yeah.
I still have them somewhere. I don't remember where. Yeah, I was just like, wow, you really have high expectations for me. I hope I don't disappoint you as a friend. Yeah, sorry, I hijacked that question. Do you guys want to answer it?
I think I don't remember the exact. I think it was maybe like in the hallway or something at IE.
In the hallway.
Yeah. A friend of a friend introduced us, and then I kept seeing you get nabbed by people like Adi to capitalize on your wealth of knowledge, and so all of a sudden I'd have all these people from my MBA who were like seeing all this guy, and I thought you were in the MBA for the longest time because you were spending so much time with all these people from the MBA. Before I realized that you were doing this separate master's in conjunction with it. And so many people were just trying to get past their finance and accounting courses, in addition to obviously enjoying a wonderful company and growing that friendship. So that was kind of my I was just like, wow, who the hell is this guy? He's like super plugged into all these different little groups.
Yeah, no, I think I remember you with the same thought process as well. Meeting in the hallway a couple of times, and like I mentioned, one of my friend had a crush on you, so I remember that very clearly at the same time.
Oh my gosh!
And
sorry.
And yeah, I think Adi. How do I remember Adi? So Adi, I remember. I think I ran into her during the club fair initially. I think she was the head of private equity or venture capital, or I think investment banking club, one of the clubs.
No, it was venture capital and private equity because I wanted to get into the marketing side of those.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, absolutely. And I wanted to lead the club at that time, and for some reason, because Master in Finance was such a intense course to be in, and I could not make time to do that. So then eventually switch off. But then I kept seeing Adi multiple times. We spoke. We became randomly. We just became friends. And then Adi would just keep buying me Indian food, or we would just get Indian or spicy food together all the time. And then I think that's how we just became friends. And I think she would sometimes she would ask for my protection, and sometimes she would also end up protecting me as well from some random people around the college. I think, Ryan, we also met during the basketball selection time as well. I don't know if you were there, but at the beginning, sometime around September, October, there was a basketball selection that took place, and I did end up going for that as well. I was there. I did play basketball with you as well. I think around 3 or 4 times, not more. And then again, I had to drop because of Master in Finance. So I think instead of meeting in the hallway, I think we met on the basketball court when we were doing some selections for the IE basketball team. Yeah,
definitely. That was a big part of it for sure. A lot of fun.
Yeah, and then of course my friend having a crush on you. So yeah, let's not forget that as well.
Yeah, I think. Thank you. Third time bringing that one up. Perfect. Let's make sure that's totally in the transcript here.
Yeah.
It is in the transcript. And I won't go through all of the experiences, but I also had a friend who was like, I thought she was just like so cool. She was gonna be like my best friend for life. And then I found out that she was only friends with me because she wanted to get closer to Ryan. And I was like totally friend heartbroken because I was like, like, just seriously. And when she found out that I was not in a position where I could tell him he should go out on a date with her, she just like boom, just disappeared. And I was like, yeah, I'm not crushed at all. That's cool.
Well, somehow I didn't even
Yeah.
know any of these things were happening. So I guess there's some great lessons and environmental awareness there for me.
Well, all of us, your friends, I think we kind of felt the need to protect you a little bit. Always watching out for each other. But yes,
Yeah.
I admittedly did use Mihir as a shield on multiple occasions. I would say probably 70% of the time that I bought him dinner, I just said, please just sit next to me. And if I give you this code word, when that guy comes over, tell him that we're studying something important and to go away.
Amazing.
Yep, I remember that. Yep.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna bring it up, but since you did, I figured I should just explain exactly.
Yeah, I want to do that at some point in this conversation.
I did appreciate Mihir also being my shield as much as I was. Yeah. Got a lot of friend love going on here, protecting each other, watching out for each other. So let's see. We already said what you've done in your career. I have a few minutes left. Do you want to answer the obstacles question? What were some obstacles that you guys were surprised to face in your career, and how did you overcome them? Or do you want to go with the favorite book question? What are a few books that have changed your life?
Oof.
We can do both.
Might as well. Don't leave the audience hanging there. Okay.
What are some obstacles that you were surprised to face throughout your career, specifically, like especially early on?
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I'd probably mention two things. One is I've always, I think, had felt a natural affinity to people. I've really enjoyed working in different elements and different assets and functions of different companies, and as a result of that, I think through that natural affinity, have always been drawn to teams, being a part of teams, then helping to start to kind of build teams, then leading teams, managing larger and larger teams, and cross-functionally. And because I think that was like a bit of a natural, I guess, trait for me, and perhaps through sports and through other things in life, I just thought it would kind of always work out the way I anticipated. And there was a couple, but yeah, overly optimistic for sure. There was a couple of scenarios, and one really in particular, and kind of some of the earlier days of consulting, where there was just a real misalignment, both culturally and personally, with one or two team members, where I mean, literally, so I was working in another country 99% of the time, another language, in this case Spanish, and then later Spanish and Portuguese. And like, I misinterpreted or misunderstood, as did they, things that were happening. So like, in my case, I was like divvying up, dividing and conquering what our team, our work group, has to do on a project, for example. And I guess the way that, and perhaps it was my, I don't know, classic Anglo-American style or something, but the way that I was approaching that led one of the team members to think that I was just trying to kind of offload all the work onto like the junior team members and not actually do anything or contribute. And so then they were going behind and complaining to the senior manager and the partners on this thing. And then for a while, and before I even realized anything, so I had to have a bit of an intervention and like really realign everything. It all worked out in the end. It was a very successful project.
Yeah.
But there were just some like complete misses along the way. In
Yeah.
part because of language, in part because of culture, in part because of personality. And that's just something I never really anticipated. So that's really the big first one. And the second one is I think there's, yeah, I guess as a consultant for a long time, and then working kind of startups, the classic almost like logo that goes with any personality that works in that space is like, I like working in ambiguity. I like living in uncertainty. That's almost like a brand that people live by, because it is a lot of what you do. You are helping to put concrete action plans around amorphous concepts.
Oh,
And,
yeah. Yeah.
And so, I've been surprised once or twice in my life situation where I've been thrust more, even personally, into that complete and total ambiguity or uncertainty. Whether I'm transitioning from one job to the next and didn't, expect to, or maybe I'm moving geographies at the last minute, didn't expect to. And it really kind of shed a light on how uncomfortable that really can be. And certainly when it's in a professional context, and I would say perhaps even more in a personal context, and just kind of getting to grips with that, and I would say like eating, my own jargon that I would espouse as a consultant for a long time was a great learning experience, and kind of certainly an obstacle I had to overcome throughout that. So those are my two big ones. Mihir, on to you.
I think for me, it was more from the personal side, right? I think, so well, I've been born with dyslexia, so I have had a very massive struggle when it comes to just getting through school. So my mom was told pretty much early on, when I was just 4 years old, that this guy is not going to get beyond sixth grade. 10th grade is a max.
That too. I was told I would never graduate from kindergarten, let alone high school. I'd never go to college. Forget doing an MBA. I wanted to send my MBA record to my kindergarten teacher, who said I'd never graduate high school. Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah. So no, so the struggle was real, honestly. I think getting through school was hard. Sixth grade, 10th grade was what I was told. I wouldn't get beyond that. Of course, I could sense that as well, because I was very slow when it came to learning compared to a lot of my friends and my colleagues. Was never able to finish my exams, was very confused between alphabets. I could not do my shoelaces as well. Very confused between right side, left side. I do not know the directions.
Oh, I still mix them up.
Okay, yeah. So when that happens, yeah. But of course, with immense hard work, and of course my mom's help, and a lot of counseling sessions that I went through when I was in India, that helped me to get where I am. So this was the biggest hurdle for me, because no one invested the time to help me learn and get through school. So I had to do it. A lot of the stuff I had to do it all by myself. So I think that was one biggest hurdle I faced. But all was not bad and all was not negative, because what happened is that when you have so many weaknesses in terms of the way you speak, the way you pronounce, you start working on them, and you start working on them with 10 times more focus and hard work compared to any other person would. So what that eventually did is that made me way more perfect compared to anybody else. Made me phenomenally persistent, develop very strong thick skin. I still wake up at 4:35 in the morning. I'm pretty much up. It's pretty much my schedule since I was a kid. So a lot of learnings came across the way. So that was one biggest hurdle in my life that I had to overcome. The second one, I think, for me, was always having the bad timing. So I graduated in 2011 from University of Mumbai. India was not the best economy in the world to be in at that time. We had 12% inflation, low economic growth, no jobs. So I kind of got screwed at that time, right? Then I graduated from IE in 2016. Brexit took place. Europe is screwed, UK is screwed. Not the best time. Go back to India. And then India at that time was just getting started. We were just starting. We just had a good government place, just getting started. And then by the time I could start seeing some opportunities come by in terms of where I could use my skills and grow, COVID hit. And I could not get that paying job, the kind of job that I wanted. So while I did impact investing, while I was at Avishkar, all said and done, But in terms of numbers, the way you should have converted me for numbers and salary did not happen for me. In terms of work, I was still doing okay. So these are the two hurdles I faced from the professional side, and also, yes, I just graduated from Kellogg. Also, not the best time to graduate as well, right? Again, so I always get the timing wrong. So I think, like I mentioned, right, external factors, things which you cannot control, is something is something that impacts your life. So that has been one hurdle, but of course, persistence is something that has kept me going. I took GMAT 7 times. I applied to B schools for 3 years back to back. I did not stop it. I did not get it done. So that persistence has come from me, from my life experiences. And then I think the second hurdle for me, it has been that when you are in India, the work culture is very different. We are tested more on technicals compared to soft skills and leadership skills and all of that. And I think that reflects also in your superiors as well. So your superiors are not as focused on your individual growth than to just keep getting things done. Very few opportunities. So some of the good projects get taken over by the superiors. So you're learning at the junior level that should happen at a much younger age does not usually end up happening as well, right? And you're competing amongst a pool of thousands of candidates for just one job opportunity at the same time. So these things affect you a lot. So again, external factors not in my control. And then again, from finances point of view as well. So coming from a low middle class family, rather, haven't seen my dad being too successful, but have been very lucky to get the best education thanks to my uncle in the US. I also started to see in terms of how these things also affect your overall upbringing and the standing in the society. So while that has been an obstacle, again, it was a learning opportunity that kind of has set me up to go in the direction that I want to take my life in. And that's why I said money is very important for me. That's one thing I do not want to compromise on. And then I think the last one for me would be not being able to have the right mentor. I would have loved to have a mentor in my life. I think it's very important, especially if you're pursuing fields like, say, finance, law, or trying to be a doctor, or if you want to be an entrepreneur as well. I think you need a mentor who can keep hand holding you and who can keep giving you life lessons that are important to be successful, and also put you in touch with the right kind of people through who you can kind of network and build your career going ahead. So I think these are the obstacles that I faced, and I wished I've overcome a lot of them. A lot of learnings have happened, but everything is still pretty much in process. Networking skills, again, I think I learned a lot of networking going to IE, and then of course coming to Kellogg. Cultures in US and Europe are very different. US is all about networking. So a lot of my networking skills have developed over the last 8, 10, 12 months after coming to the US, after understanding how important it is to network. So again, that's an obstacle, the cultural barrier that I had to overcome to get where I am in life today.
I would say when it comes to getting a mentor and getting good mentors, you have to ask like 15, 20, 30 people. And you also aren't just asking them to be your mentor. A lot of people get it wrong. They think, well, this person should pour into me. I find like the most important, intimidating person in that organization or in that metaphorical room. And I walk up to them and I ask them, what do you need that no one is currently helping you with? So I'm about to put together this thing that like is way, way, way below my pay grade, because somebody in one of these organizations who's very high up said she needs it done, and she can't find anyone to do it. And because I want her to continue to mentor me, I'm doing that for her. So I know that when I go and I want somebody to mentor me and I want to be able to learn from them, the way that I get that seat sitting next to them is by being essentially their executive assistant in my free time. So they know that like when we're working on this nonprofit project or we're doing this thing, I try to find that person. This is outside of the client world, outside of the company world. This is like in the nonprofit world where you can find a lot of great mentors because you're all working towards whatever that common goal is. I try to find that person, say, what do you need done? And be useful, because then I get mentored just by seeing them do their daily work.
Right.
A lot of people think that a mentor is like this person like in the movies, like the fairy godmother that just comes in and gives you a bunch of things for no reason. Like, and that's just not realistic. So that's what I would recommend. the meeting that I took you to yesterday, you already have a few people there who want to mentor you if you join that nonprofit.
Yeah.
I'm not going to mention it because some of you that tune into this are crazy stalkers, and I don't want you showing up at one of our meetings.
Yeah.
Yes, there are. I
Absolutely.
would recommend going into the nonprofit world and looking at nonprofits if you're having trouble finding a mentor and you want to be useful to people and be helpful.
Okay.
The other thing, I think that's organizational, whether or not your superiors pour into you, and that's something that I count on. And that's one of the client, or not client, that's one of the employee retention strategies that I use is like I listen to their breathing pattern when we're on our calls. And if I detect that there's cortisol, like that they're stressed and there's cortisol that was released from their brain into their bloodstream, they're stressed, their breathing pattern is going to change. And I'm going to ask them, why are they stressed? And then I'm going to give them a pep talk. And I'm going to tell them, I tell them exactly what we're going to do so that they're successful with whichever project they're afraid to do for the first time. If you're a team lead, that's a really effective strategy at keeping top talent with you because so few team leads actually take the time to do that. And then obstacles. Oh my God, kindergarten. So my mother is, she's of Russian descent, and she's also from a background of an ancestry where it is very common to teach your children reading, writing, math at a very young age. So when I went to kindergarten, I didn't only know the alphabet. I had read through Hooked on Phonics, I think like level 2, and she was like very animate about me being ready for kindergarten. So when I got to kindergarten, I'm old enough that you were not allowed to be a lefty yet. So that's why I always mix up my right and left, because I was forced to be a righty, and I continue to, anyways. And then with sports, I'm like a lefty, so it's a mess. But so with kindergarten, I had the teacher, the teacher and I did not get along because she would not let me be a lefty. And then on top of that, she wanted me to sit and learn the alphabet. I was like, this isn't fair. I already learned the alphabet. I want to look out the window. So then she told my parents that I would never graduate high school, let alone get into college. My mom fought to have my reading level tested. And then that's when she realized that my reading level was like 2nd grade. So then when she would do her alphabet time with the kindergartners, I would go into the 1st grade classroom. I had to read all their books first. And then I'd go into the 2nd grade classroom and read all of their books. But yeah, I mean, grade school, my daughter, when she has a hard time, I'm like, honey, grade school is going to be one of those things that you like, you get through it, you survive it. It's not always ideal. You don't, but you get through it.
It'll mark you forever.
Yeah.
Yes. It has an indelible mark seared onto your brain. You will never forget it. 30 years later. Oh, sorry. I have to go to a meeting with my mentor, who is the light in my life right now. So I still have a few minutes. I gave myself a buffer. Let's finish these up pretty quick. So I have to answer the obstacles question. I think obviously there are a lot of obstacles faced just by being female. There are obstacles faced with the whole like sexual harassment sort of things that we still continue to see for women in the workplace. I won't get into that too much right now. That's not the goal of this and how you deal with that. I'd be happy if anyone struggles with that. Please feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'd be happy to tell you about the resources available to you, what you can do to address such instances, things like that. But other obstacles, let's see. I think the biggest one for me is getting in my own head and being super, super critical, because I'll read between 1 and 3 books a week, and then I'm like, oh, I'm not where that author is yet. And it's like, well, that's okay, because 90% of our peers are also not where that author is yet. And I have to kind of just like talk myself down from these like very high expectations that like prevent writer's block or career block, I guess. Yeah, so for me, the biggest obstacle is internal mindset. My internal critic is very mean, and has a very loud voice. So yeah, I think that's mine. What else? Obstacles I've faced. I mean, we've had hostile takeovers. Mihir's been there for those. I've lost sleep over those. I literally developed wrinkles. I was so stressed. My mom was like, "You need to try a new skincare routine." I was like, "It's not the skincare. It is the stress at work." But thank you for your feedback. So, yeah, I think for me, a lot of the obstacles have been around people not being prepared for the types of things that competitors throw, and then having to very, very quickly learn on the job, like building the ladder as I'm running up it to put the fire out. Those have been my biggest obstacles, and I would say with those, I remember before I faced my first obstacle like that, I was like, how do these CEOs in Silicon Valley become so savvy with like law and policy and regulation? And then I realized they learn how to build the ladder as they're running up to put the fire out. So the problems that you face, they'll continue to be something that you are not ready to face, and you learn how to face it, or you let it kill your career. And every time you have that option to either find the person who's going to help you face that obstacle and overcome it, or to let it be the thing that wrecks your career. And yes, it's stressful. Yes, you'll lose sleep over it. I take ice baths just to like literally force myself to chill out. But you always have that option. You always have that option. When you face an insurmountable obstacle, you either keep calling people until you find somebody in your network that knows the solution. You keep Googling. You can watch like 15 different YouTube videos. Don't figure out how one person overcame this obstacle. Figure out how 5, 10, 15 people overcame this obstacle in different ways based on their unique assets that they had at their disposal. Yeah, sir. Pep talk. Going into a pep talk.
I'm inspired. I'm motivated. Put the day on, baby.
Good. That's the goal.
Yeah.
All right. So let's see. But yeah, that's kind of keeping my obstacles, the obstacles I've faced and how I've overcome them. Now tell us, I mean, this kind of is the same as the other one. Tell us one epic fail that you faced and how you overcame it. You guys already, I mean, we already answered that. At any point, did you look around and realize, wow, I've achieved a lot for my age? Not for me, because I compare myself to Mihir, who's always achieved more than me. No, I'm kidding. But I do try to surround myself with high performers like Ryan and Mihir, so I never feel like I've achieved a lot for my age.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's like a constant push and pull situation. Like there's moments of nice feelings. We're like, wow, like this I just did some pretty good work. And like,
yeah,
and I'm not that old, so that's not bad.
Yeah.
And those are really nice. I think you got to hold on to those moments and really feel them and
Treasure
remember them, write them down, reference them.
Yeah.
Because yeah, there's so many really interesting people out there who've done great things. And I think it really helps to have like a club of cheerleaders in your corner to remind you of the great things you've done. And those people have come in critical. Yeah, exactly. It's rare to have those, and it's important to do your best to find them if you can. Because we all need it. We all deserve it. Everyone has done great things in their lives in one way or another, all measured by different KPIs. And we just need to bring it on back to the book. And we just need to, I think, to keep that top of mind. So.
I think I'm just getting started. That's what I feel. So I don't think I've achieved too much. It actually depends from person to person. I'm somebody who will get to a point and I'm going to reset my goals. I'm going to aim for something higher just because I've gotten something done. So for some people, it's getting somewhere and just being like, okay, I'm happy where I am and I call it quits. For some people, it's like keep on shooting higher. I'm one of those who'll keep on shooting higher. I'm just so used to working hard that it's not. I'm not a guy who's gonna settle down with something that I already have. So I think I'm just getting started. Getting out of a top B school was a priority for me. I'm glad I was able to do it. Now the next stop is to get into a top investment bank. So hopefully, if that happens, then I will reset my goal to getting into a top P fund. If that happens, then you reset the goal to starting a fund, and if that happens, then you reset a goal to making it one of the largest PE fund in the world. So like I said, for me, it's a constant thing. It honestly depends from person to person in terms of where do you want to be happy, at what point you want to be happy at, uh, and I also feel a lot of personal factors will also affect that, because once you're married, your attention factor also changes. You have to start giving time to your friends and your family and your kids. So if it's kind of taking, yeah, so if your career is costing you your personal life, and then at some point you will have to lower down your goals as well. So I've always feel that, it depends from person to person. At what point do you want to be happy and be like, okay, this is where I am, I'm happy and I'm done.
Yeah, there's a book called Molecule of More that talks about how dopamine makes us always want to pursue goals. And there's another book called The Journey to Happiness, or a Happiness Effect. I don't remember. I read that one like 7-8 years ago. But essentially it says we are happiest. The entire book boils down to we are happiest when we're working towards a goal. So it's never just like you're happiest when you're seeing progress towards your next huge goal. But yeah, absolutely. I think I have an intro for you for the PE fund.
Okay.
Just remind me later.
Okay.
Okay. We will start with, we have 2 final questions that we're going to wrap up with because we're way over the hour. Is there a movie, book, mentor who currently inspires you to stay focused on whatever your current big goal is?
Pursuit of Happiness.
Such a classic. So good. Just finished reading Bard Thing About Hard Things by Ben Horowitz.
What did you think of that
I really
book?
liked it. I liked 90% of it. I thought it was a little disjointed because it basically comes from like a series of blog posts and everything else, but like totally real and candid and in many ways vulnerable. And I thought it was a great reflection of a lot of the real challenges that leaders face as you create, build, scale companies. And for me, it was inspiring. There were certain chapters that were focused on, literally, here's what you do in X situation, which may or may not be relevant for the reader. But then the rest, I think, were quite thoughtful and also funny and real. And it was very, I think, it was the right time for me to adjust that and read that book.
Okay, so maybe I should give that book another chance because people kept recommending it, and I read it, and I got to the part where he was talking about how they had hired like hundreds of employees without making a dollar yet. And as someone who's always working with early stage bootstrapped companies, I was just like, what was he who made that decision to hire hundreds of people without any product that's making money yet? And so I was like, I don't think I'm going to learn anything from this guy. And I put the book down, but maybe I should give it another chance and skip past that story because after I put that, that totally lost my attention. It was like,
there's a lot of context goes into it. It's the .com bubble. It's I think he explained a little bit more. They were looking to really inject growth through a couple different avenues, had a ton of money at their disposal. So totally valid point, and I agree with you. I do think it's worth a shot. Give the rest of the book a shot. There's some really valuable stuff in there.
Oh, all right, Mihir, we have a new book for our book club that we're going to start, party of 2.
No. Okay,
sounds really engaging.
What?
Sounds very engaging, exciting.
Yes. I cannot do book clubs. I'm horrible at them. Never show up.
Yeah.
So, Mihir, what about you? Inspiration, movie, book, mentor.
I think Okay, for me, I said pursuit of happiness, right? I think
Yeah.
keep going against the adversity and stuff like that. I think that, and then of course for me, it's been somebody like Richard Branson or Charles Schwab. Of course, both of them come with dyslexia, and I was very quiet about it initially. I was not very much open about this, but then after that, it was Richard Branson who is in fact very open about his dyslexia and dropping out of school and how it has helped him and stuff like that. He started contributing to the cause of dyslexia as well, and nowadays he also made sure that dyslexia is not seen as a disability, but rather it's like you're just differently abled as an individual, right? So I think so for me it's him because he's immensely successful. He's rich, come Rack's richest story, dyslexia. So yeah, so I think for me that is what that is something that he's the one who I technically look up to as a mentor, or rather as an individual. And the movie is Pursuit of Happiness. Yeah.
Yeah. I saw that we were gonna have to answer this question, and I didn't think of an answer.
All you gotta do is look at any of the
Don't judge.
books behind you. Yeah, just gotta
What? I know.
choose one.
If you did not know I was reading books and reading a lot of them, just let me
Yeah,
duck
there
for a
it is.
second so you could see. Yeah, and there's actually piles. There's more books here. They're yeah, everywhere. Yeah, I guess that's probably where I derive a lot of my motivation from. I get very I think most of you know my undergrad degree is medicinal and biological chemistry. I love testing things and seeing how they work. That's like very exciting for me to get into. So when somebody releases a book, a marketing book or sales book, I treat it, or neurobiology. I love neurobiology books. I treat it like a lab manual, like I'm getting to see another scientist's lab manual, and I want to just like rip it open. And like if you ever try to read one of my books, you'll hate it because there's so many notes on like what I'm gonna try from what I've read. But that's, I think, what really excites me is testing out what they've proposed in their book and the theories that they say are like successful and get certain results, and seeing what that looks, what the results are. That's definitely something that's exciting for me. And the last one, been talking for a while, at least for me as an introvert. Okay, what are some tools and tactics that you use to manage your time and teams effectively? I built our project management that we use for Molo 9. I built that portal, so it's custom with what we need to manage team projects, specifically marketing team projects. That's the main one that I use.
Well, I guess I can start. A couple different things that I do to try and be as effective and productive as possible. Basically, I use a part of my Sundays as like the prep for the week, and during that time, I'm thinking through what's upcoming, and I create my key priorities for the week. So I basically am by Monday morning, I'm kind of starting off with like my targets and what I'm really going to be emphasizing during that week. And then each day I've got similarly, if there's a weekly view, then there's a daily view. So each day, at the start of every day, I'm literally writing down my 3 to 5 priorities for the day. Like, these are the things that I must create space for and time around, and everything else is a nice to have. And then as that kind of translates to teams, I think, depending on the function and the company and the team and the stage of maturity of the company, this could look very different a lot of different ways. But even, especially if you're a team leader, even like a quick daily stand-up touch point goes a long way, just to realign, like get a pulse on how everyone's doing and where they're at and who needs what. So that's just like, a little boost of confidence or little technical support from some other team. And then just kind of realigning, like, hey, this is what we're doing today. By 5, we're going to touch base again, and let's check in on how we've done against what we're doing today. That kind of thing. Super simple, and it's super really obvious, I think, but very effective, and it goes a long way and actually bringing results, or at least it has for me.
Yeah, I use that too, and I didn't even think about disclosing that information. The morning check-in, like, these are your priorities for today, and there will be some like quick tasks for you to contribute to, but these are the priorities. and then the end of day task. And at in the morning, I listen to their stress levels to see if there's anything I'm going to have to error handle. And then for me personally, my like what I need to get done, I put it in a weekly view. Like this is what needs to be done this week. And then whenever I have the mental energy to work on things, I just cross it off with that list. But, yeah.
How do you hear?
Great. For me, very similar to what Ryan does. Just plan everything out on Sunday, what you need to do for the entire week.
Yeah.
And then, you know, when I'm working, I make sure I've switched off my social media.
Oh yeah,
Instagram, all of that kind of crap, not happening. And then I always think through in terms of if I'm able to get something done, what worked and what did not work. And I think I just keep a track of it. I make my to-do list and I keep checking things off, so that allows me to also stay on track. That's been something what I've been doing very, very recently. But if when I'm working professionally, again, to-do lists are very handy, neatly laid out calendars, allocating time for different things. So for example, if you are going to be going to the gym at 5 a.m, then I mark it off that, okay, from 5 to 7, you're going to be in the gym.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm going to do breakfast from 7 to 7:30 or to 8 o'clock, I'll mark it off as breakfast time or free time or whatever like that. So that tells me throughout in terms of how my day is looking, and if I've managed to put in enough time for myself as well. And if I'm working with a team, of course, timely check-ins are always important, and just to see through in terms of why have they been able to meet the goals, why they did not meet the goals, and what are some of the obstacles that they are facing, and then help them resolve it so we are able to hit the targets pretty quick.
I totally agree with all that. You mentioned like the social media part, which is obviously has some great components to it. Completely distracting also. My phone doesn't have any notifications for any application, which is I think very helpful. And a friend of mine, also another IE grad, challenged me to this thing several years ago now, which was like, there's a rule in place where you're not allowed to look at any social media before noon, for example. And I guess so at first it was, like, oh, you do your little tick of, I have 5 minutes of nothing to do, Instagram or Facebook or whatever. And once you're like, oh shit, no, I have this rule, I can't look at that until noon. But then once that kind of then becomes ingrained as a habit in your new DNA, that 12 o'clock meter then starts just naturally getting pushed back until you just don't really feel the need to check as much. So that's also been really helpful for me.
I put ebooks on my phone, so then when I'm going to pick up my phone to look at something, there's the ebooks.
Nice.
But I still have struggled with Instagram. I will not put TikTok on my phone because I know it would just
me too.
My product.
The algorithm will consume me.
Yeah. Yep. And I guess I forgot to mention another thing I do. I intentionally do my I noticed that like when I first come into the office, I'm mentally freshest. So I will I have my power time from like 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. That's usually not disrupted, or it's an interview like this because that's when my mind sharpest, freshest. I can be an extrovert for a little bit of time if I need. But then I noticed if I do my daily workout at lunch, then I get a double dose of that power hour. And in the afternoon, instead of getting that lull, I get another, instead of getting a power hour once a day or power 2 hours once a day, I get 2 of them. So that's something else I've started. I think that's everything, right? We've talked for a long time. We've answered every question. What?
We covered the gamut.
Yes, we've answered every question that you have. You have now seen behind the scenes of 2 people that I'm friends with, rather than always having me interview a client or a random stranger. Gotten a little bit of context about who we are. We have the book coming out very soon. You can join the waitlist at addiesusan.com, and in a couple weeks you'll actually be able to pre-order it. Very exciting. Very exciting. Going to be a lot of fun. It was a pleasure talking with you guys, having you share your stories, having to share my own. And I look forward to seeing you all back offline. To everyone who tuned in, thanks for listening. look forward to seeing you next time.
Thanks.
Bye.
So.